Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear with us Monday morning. Getting ready to start a good week. Maybe most of our rain is behind us, and we've got some good outdoor stuff ahead of us. Let's look at our weather brought to us by Gulf Coast Air Conditioning up here in Southport. Drew Pollard and his hard-working crew up there making our days and nights a lot more comfortable. We're looking at a high of 84, low of 76, not much movement there. And water temperature, well, I don't have it this morning, to be honest with you. Our Monday moon phase, though, we know that we're having a full moon this coming Thursday in 3 days. Folks, if there's any way you can get out and fish these next couple of days, because that full June moon is special too. Not quite as special as May, but it's really a special full moon. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. We're looking at today decent tides. The rest of the week really strong tides. It's going to be high this morning 6:40 and low at 4:52 this afternoon. So I do want to mention this. I was out in the yard the other afternoon and I started. We've been talking about yellow flies all the time. Well, the mosquitoes came in and got revenge. Started getting bit by mosquitoes, and I got tickled. I was thinking, I got back in the house, I told Gail, I said, I think the mosquitoes have been watching Panhandle Outdoors, and I've been giving the yellow flies all the credit for aggravating us humans, and they got upset about it. Then, so when it went outside, I got hit pretty hard by the mosquitoes. So, of course, it was late in the afternoon, I knew better, and I had my shorts on, which I knew better, but I just was out there, but I got tickled thinking about it. I didn't have any yellow flies, but here's the mosquitoes, and that's living in Florida. So just wanted to share that with you and just try to cover up and do as I say, not as I do. I'll take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. In case you didn't know, we live in a tourist-oriented area here in the Florida Panhandle. We're anywhere along the coast, and evident as far as that little shark situation we had last Thursday afternoon at Grayton Beach State Park. And on the news, anywhere else, it would have been a shark attack and all that. But here, we called it a shark bite. It was not a shark attack; it was a shark bite. And I got tickled when I heard it. I said, a shark bite? Well, usually if you look in the Universal Florida, it's the shark attack files. And if a dog, if you get attacked by something, you get attacked by it. So anyway, but that's just the way it is. Here we don't want to scare away our tourists. Okay? Also, I want to talk about, speaking of tourists and traffic, is real bad. Tourists bring a lot of, I don't dislike tourists. I'm just saying here's what happens when you have this many of them. The traffic is atrocious, as you know, all along the Panhandle. But just traffic in general, I wanted to mention this. There's been just several bad wrecks lately, and a lot of fender benders too. My neighbor and two other people, three people total, have been hit while they're stopped at a red light and been back-ended, and you really can't get hurt, with a snap neck and all that kind of stuff. So I got to thinking about it, and you just get out and drive now, and 90-some% of people are courteous and watch out for each other, but you got a 10% who is all about me. I don't even talk about interstate, I'm just talking about local. Interstate is another world. But I was thinking about this, when we started having heavy fines for DUI, driving under the influence, that was brought about by, we always had a little fine, but when it got really serious, when it was MADD, M-A-D-D, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And that's really what started the big fines and all for DUIs and the jail sentences and all that. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to predict this. I wrote it down. They're going to be a new charge. It's going to be DWT, driving while texting. And it's going to be a group of moms who's lost their child to someone who's been texting, and they get real serious about that, because if you look around while you're driving, it's incredible at the people that are doing it. And so anyway, I just want to mention that to you. I've always been careful. Now I'm extra careful because of what's going on. I just wanted to mention that. So be careful out there. They're just, and wear your seatbelt. There was an accident the other day up around Ponce de Leon. They killed 3 people. The only person they didn't kill was the one that had his seatbelt on, and the other 3 were thrown out of the car. So, and I've mentioned this before. My brother and I would probably be fishing this week if he'd had his seatbelt on in the wreck they had. So, anyway, let's look at some pictures. Speaking of sharks, now this was a shark bite. Okay, is it off, Jeff? Yep. Okay, shark bite, but I don't know if the snapper, he might think it attacked too. Rosalind Hine. Oh no, that was Sunday dinner. And this has happened a lot. But look how calm the seas have been. This is before the storm came in last week. But they're out there. That's a shark bite. I thought I ran across this, and you want to get 18 summers with your kids, and I want to insert, and grandkids. This is one of your 18. Make this summer count. Now, isn't that a cool little statement right there? Kids and grandkids. This is my memory from 2 years ago. I got this in the other day. Facebook comes back with memories with the late Chris Gurris. Little did I know that would be our last fishing trip together, because we had really had plans for the summer, the next summer coming up. So there was a misunderstanding when I asked for vinyl siding. Now, Monday morning, you may not get a kick out of this, but I just got a kick out of whether or not we're going to get vinyl siding. All right? And Janice Lucas, this is Joel Lucas. I'm going to do a story later on Joel Lucas. He ran the fish market. He owned the fish market down in St. Andrew, and he's got a great story. I put him in a book. He passed away, but I talked to his son, Bobby, and Janice. He had 5 kids. But anyway, look at those fish right there. I'm going to do a story on him maybe later on in the week. Paul Thrasher. Great day fishing. I was telling you the flounder are starting to come in now. I mean, they're in, but they're starting to sort of get a little bit bigger. Paul Thrasher is a very good outdoorsman. Good job, Paul. Okay, that's the pictures I wanted to get done right there. Also, let's see what else I had. Later on, we're going to talk about sea quarters. The tournament's coming up in the first weekend of August. Now, looking at August, I think Sunday is like on the 1st. So it won't be that weekend, it'll be the weekend after the sea quarters tournament will be coming up then. Okay, let's take a break, we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Jeff and I were talking, he's getting ready to we're going to cut a commercial for our Panhandle Outdoor shop. If you have a good picture of you, some kind of action shot with a Panhandle Outdoor shirt on, a cap or something, with a big fish or even little fish, send it in. We might put you in a commercial. We can't promise it, and we can't give you a lot of money for that because we don't make a lot of money for it. So anyway, if you we'll try that. So send that in. You can email it to me or to Jeff. Are you on there too? Yeah, okay, either one of us email it too. I want to show you this picture here. Michael Harris of Seasons of Hope sent this picture the other day. This is a picture of Daniel. He's from Mobile, Alabama, and a little blazer he has on. He goes to one of those little schools there, I know. Nice looking young man. He's 13 years old, and Michael was telling me he has cancer now. He's fighting cancer with all his might, doing a really good job. So y'all keep him in your prayers, and Daniel, I want you to know our Panhandle viewing audience is behind you, and we want to be praying for you and hope you get better soon. So thank you, Michael, for sharing that with us. Now I want to talk about, let's go, every community, like I talk about Mobile, they have a great nautical history and heritage as far as boats and all. Here in Panama City, we don't have a huge nautical history, but it's a rich heritage as far as some things that happen. And the first thing that people think about is a tarpon. Now the tarpon, the SS Tarpon, steamship Tarpon, not the fish, started in 1903 to 1937. It ran from Mobile to Pensacola. They didn't go to Destin, but came into St. Andrew, and then into Panama City at Tarpon Dock with the seafood. That's why it's called Tarpon Dock. From Panama City, it skipped St. Joe, ran into Apalachicola, and then Carabel. That was the route. And then turn around and go back. It bring passengers, bring all the goods and all that. I've talked about it before, but it's rich history we have there. And in fact, I brought some stuff. I've showed it before. This book written by my good friend of mine, Captain Richard Hawley, The Last Voyage of the SS Tarpon. It crashed right out here off Highway 79. We were straight out from there. It didn't crash. The wave just overtook it. And Captain Willis Barrow, all 37 years, all 34 years, he was captain of this boat. And I didn't know this until after I did some research on it years ago. You would think he would be a young captain, folks. When he went down with the Tarpon, he was 82 years old and was still captain. That's a lot to be said about it. Anyway, a great story if you get that. And I've always collected some paraphernalia. And here, I found this. This is a collector's item. This original picture of the Tarpon. It's a Masker photograph. You know anything about local history? Mr. Masker took the original pictures in the Florida Panhandle. And it has Masker on the side, and I don't know where we got it. Gail and I collected it somewhere. And I got 2 of these. You can tell Gail wrapped it up. Didn't want me to break it. This is a beer bottle that we were hauling. It hauled all kind of stuff, and when it sank, there are bottles all over, and they became very collectible. And there's none of them out there now, of course. But anyway, this is one of the original beer bottles. It tasted a little salty when I had it, but no, just kidding. But we actually got 2 of these. There are 2 different shapes of them. So anyway, that's a Tarpon paraphernalia, and it's a really rich heritage in us. And like I said, we got Tarpon Dock Seafood, and right down there where it stopped. And of course, it was a big, big deal when the Tarpon came in, loading and unloading. And it was sort of a community event. People come in there and see, who's coming on, who's coming here, and really St. Andrews settled with people coming in on the Tarpon. So, got more people coming in. Okay, so anyway, with that being said, Ronnie Groom, and I did an interview with him a little while back. He was the first one. He and his brother and a couple of friends were the first one to ever dive on it. Now you're talking about something having rich heritage, and I just wanted to get that story. And I showed it one time back, but I want to make sure that you understand the importance of seeing this happen and seeing someone, interviewing someone who actually did that. I mean, people have fished off of it before, but no one ever dove down because they couldn't find it. And they had to use landmarks to find it. But I want you to listen to how he circled around with his brother, pulling him behind the boat. It's just a rich history. I want to share it with you. So we'll watch this video and come back and talk about it later. So Jeff, let's roll this. All right, Ronnie, tell us, one of the most fascinating stories I've heard is how you guys found the Tarpon. Tell us the background of finding the SS Tarpon.
Well, we looked for it for several years. It was really hard to find without all the modern equipment we have now. And some of the captains knew where it was, and it's a tremendous wreck, has a tremendous history behind it, But we started looking for it long ago, and we chartered a plane once or twice and flew out there. On a good day, we thought we'd be able to see it and have somebody there in a boat, drop a buoy on it. But that didn't work, so we finally found out, roughly where it was. And we got some bearings on it. We used to use land bearings. We didn't have all this modern equipment to use, so we had some land bearings on it. We found out that it was about a quarter of a mile east of the Y Road. The road, what is that, 79? 79. We knew it was about a quarter of a mile west of there and about somewhere around 100 foot of water. So we got us a plan made. We got us an anchor and marked it at 96 foot exactly. That's where we marked the anchor to know how deep it was. And we got a boat out there in that area. And I took my boat and we ran down the beach to 79. And then I turned the steering wheel to my back and I kept the Y open. You can see it, a long ways. And so often we'd stop and check the measurement, see how deep it was. And we'd go on out till we got to the right depth and we threw a buoy. Then we ran what we thought was a quarter to the east, through another buoy. And then we started circling around and around and around. And we did that probably 45 minutes to an hour. And we didn't find anything, so my little brother Raymond said, "Drag me behind the boat." And so we threw a rope out the back of the boat, and he held on to it, and we drug him in circles.
You put a mask on?
Put a mask and fins on, and we drug him round and round, and finally he said, "A lot of barracudas." And he said, "They're going back this way." So he went following him, and we followed him. And finally he said they kind of settled, and we threw a buoy, and that's where it was.
So those barracudas sort of led y'all to it?
Yeah, they were probably maybe 100 yards off the wreck. and we got on there. It was interesting. It was a beautiful day. The water was crystal clear, and when I jumped out of the boat with my tank, but we free dived first and shot some fish up in the water, spearfishing. And then when they all went down to the wreck, I got up, got my tank regular on, spear gun. I jumped over, and there was just a big half bubble over the wreck, bait fish, billions of them. And I started down, and I looked at the bait fish, and right through the middle of all this bait fish, about a 40-pound black grouper came up. And I shot him before I could even get to the wreck. And then we went down and shot some more fish. Just had a wonderful dive.
When you first looked at it, what did it look like, the wreck itself?
There was quite a bit of wreckage there then. I understand part of the superstructure had been pulled off somewhere, and probably wood and disintegrated. Mm-hmm. But the boilers and all were there, and now I understand there's very little left of it. Mm-hmm. Just a pile of metal, you know. But it was a beautiful wreck. We went there over and over, and you never knew what you were going to see there.
Who all was with you on that trip? Some of the guys that went with you.
I know Bert Gwaltney was there. Ernie Palmer was there. It was 2 boats of us. And Buddy Voss, I think, was there. Most of the old shooter giggers were there.
Yeah. Well, that was a fascinating part of our history right there. I guess, did y'all go back to it pretty regular?
We didn't want to fish it too much, and we'd go back probably once every couple of months, 3 months, something like that. You never knew what you were going to see. We saw some fine bull sharks on that thing, and we killed some old jewfish, you know, some grouper and snapper, flounders. It was an interesting wreck.
Okay, Ronnie, I know when you drove it and you got some fish and everything, I guess it was fascinating to see what all was out there. I know beer bottles was one of the claim to fame about people finding the beer bottles. Tell us what you saw first.
Yeah, well, there was beer bottles everywhere. They must, you know, it was a cargo ship too. They carried cargo all down the coast, and it was just hundreds and hundreds of beer bottles down there. And there was some white china bowls and dishes, plates, and I picked up 4 or 5 pieces of that, and I brought it home and I showed my mom, and I said, this came off the Tarpon, and it had barnacles on it, little growth around it. And about a week later I saw her and she showed it to me. She had washed it. I'm sure she intended to use it. But it was a very interesting wreck. One of the highlights of my diving career was the first dive on the Tarpon. It was a beautiful day, crystal clear water. You could see the wreck from about 60, 70 feet up when you get down that far. You know, we shot some amberjack on that thing that, well, I shot one that weighed 96 pounds.
Wow.
That's a big amberjack. I shot him and got him right up to the boat, had my hand on the side of the boat. He was on the line down there on the gun, and he pulled me all the way back to the bottom again. I had to come back up again, but we killed some really good fish. But it was an interesting wreck. It was an interesting dive, and one of the highlights of my diving career.
Welcome back. I hope you appreciated that as much as I did. That was a great piece of our history and first-hand account. Okay, let's look at our fishing game times today, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe. We're looking at 8:41 to 10:41, and this evening from 9:09 to 11:09. I talked about Friday. I showed you a couple of pictures of Lake Jackson that dried up. This was just a week or two ago. Here's a picture of it here, and okay, this is right north of Tallahassee. Like I said, I caught the biggest bass I ever caught in that lake, but it was a little different. So I looked up the facts and all. I tried to find a pattern when it dries up. But it is right now. The Tallahassee Democrat said that's the biggest tourist attraction in Tallahassee. People going to the lake and looking at it. Okay, the first time it documented it dried up was in 1829. Then 1840, then 1860, 1907, 1918, 1932, 1936, only 4 years. And then it went 20 years, 1956, and then in 1981. I caught my big bass between 1956 and 1981, so you had bass had time to grow in there. So then 99, 07, and then last time 2012, and of course 2021. And basically what happens on that is a phenomenon, a natural phenomenon. It's basically a sinkhole that a lake is, and when the aquifer gets a little bit down, the Florida aquifer gets down a little bit, it just sucks it in, it just sucks it down into the hole, and then when we have rain and all, it usually comes after a long, prolonged dry period. And that's what happens when we get a lot of rain coming back in, it pops back up, and birds put fish eggs in there and all that, boom, all you know. It's a very well maintained lake as far as having big bass in it. Now, I don't know if any big bass been caught in it lately. I don't know, but I know a period of time there in the 70s, 60s through the 80s, there was that period right there were some huge bass caught out of Lake Jackson, and that was some good times. Okay, let's see, we got a couple minutes left. One of the things too, the Native Americans, well, they did some, all the research, the Native American, they call Lake Jackson disappearing waters. That was their term for it, because even before 1840s and all, it would be happening. And Native American, you could imagine when it just disappeared. It come to it only took a couple of days for it to sink in like that. So I thought that was cool. But they had some newspaper reports, but basically it is, like I said, the Florida aquifer just getting a little bit low and sucking it in. And we get all of our water from the Florida aquifer, and it gets a lot of pressure now. Fortunately, we've been able to put a lot of dams up for our drinking water, like at Deer Point Dam, the lake. We got Lake Seminole and Lake Tarpon, and had a lot of foresight in building those dams and all. So, plus the recreational benefits from that have been enormous. So anyway, be careful. Don't go out and get a shark bite or a shark attack, and don't get into deep water if you can help it this time of year, because there are sharks out there, always have been, always will be. But we'll do more research on that shark bite and see really what happened. So anyway, it's don't blame it on the fishermen. And that news report said there was a fisherman close by. Most fishermen are fishing with like fish bites and all, don't have any blood in the water and all. The shark fishermen are different. So they may, if they're close to shark fishermen, that would make sense. That might have happened. So most shark fishermen I know now catching them at night. Got to get out of here. Y'all have a great day today. Do something outdoors for your fellow man. Have a great day. Enjoy it.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.